Hello and welcome once again to the bike show and to my van because I'm back in Germany on the way to a new bike launch. This episode sees us take a peek behind the South African success story that is Bike Tyre Warehouse. But before we get to that, let us begin with a very important, very famous bike. Bikes with names often tend to be good, don't you think? They're not that common in the world of motorcycling. Unlike the car guys who love their names, the bike manufacturers prefer numbers and letters. GSX, ZX, CBR 750 type of thing. But when there is a name, it's often affixed to a great bike and then stays with us forever. Fireblade, Street Fighter, Thundercat, Blackbird, and of course, the one that concerns us this week, Hayabusa.
Here it is at last, folks. After a 13-year wait, may we present the new Generation 3 Suzuki Hayabusa with sleek new looks, shark gills, and massive cans. It certainly looks like a highway killer. But however, there was a bit of a problem. After all the wait, when they finally released details about this motorcycle, they said it was 7 horsepower less than its predecessor, which was a little bit behind already. So is this thing still the king of speed? We didn't really know, and you'll remember my colleague Matt had quite a rant about it that caused a stir. Me as a long-time Hayabusa fan, I wasn't exactly happy. However, today we're going to test this based on what the manufacturer intended. And in this case, this is the slogan they went with: upping the ante in refinement, dignity, and ultimate riding pleasure. So right now we're in East London. 300 kilometers that way along the coast is Port Elizabeth. Let's take a ride between the two famous cities and see how much refinement, dignity, and ultimate riding pleasure we can find. And so we set off through the streets of East London towards the coastal road to see how ultimate this riding performance is. I wonder, does Suzuki know that the word ultimate actually means lost? I mean, people like ultimate means like the great, no it doesn't, it means lost. So ultimate riding pleasure, does that mean this is the last time I'm ever going to enjoy a motorbike? Or all motorbikes after this going to be terrible? In which case I better make the best out of this. While there are changes to the new Busa, it is mostly still the old Busa, especially the chassis. I mean, apart from the looks, upgrades to the settings of the KYB suspension, and the addition of new Brembo Stylema brakes, is exactly the same as the old one. This bike feels like a Hayabusa, and anybody who's ridden a Hayabusa will know exactly what that means. They're very low to the ground. I know in pictures and all of that they look all huge, but they're really low to the ground, really long. They got this really sort of streamlined missile look about them, and you can feel it. The legs are a little bit cramped, not too bad. I mean, I'm short, so it's okay. Some people with longer legs that are harder bending might find this a problem. Also, you're pretty stretched out. And what Suzuki have done with this bike, the Gen 3, is lifted the handlebars slightly. So you're slightly higher up in terms of like on your shoulders and that, which is brilliant actually. And even though the screen looks really low, I'm actually quite well protected. I mean, I haven't been riding long, we'll see how this goes, but I feel really good. I can stay here forever. We then got to our first coastal town, called Kids Beach. Although there was a significant lack of kids, apart from maybe one. Maybe they meant like Jody Kid. Explain the spelling mistake. Mind you, I don't see much of her here either. Lots of dignity, yo. And some refinement. With us kitted up, we set off again and spent some more time wondering about the new Busa. I love the old school analog clocks. It's got this like cool TFT display in the middle just to remind you that, hey, we're in the modern century. And then the roundabout clocks, which as is traditional. The only thing I don't like is that the speedo clock on the first model went to 320 kilometers an hour. And it was the coolest thing in the world. This one goes to 290. They could have at least made it 300. Anyway, I got the ocean over there, cool mountains over there, the sun is behind me, I bet you I look like a silhouette to you, and all is well.
Of course, with the road following the coast, it navigated the hilly countryside, and that meant corners.
As far as handling goes, there is some boatiness about this bike. I mean, it's not a light little nippy motorcycle. It weighs a lot. It's very long. It's very low. What it does have is stability. So over some of the bumps, with the wind hitting you, with everything, it doesn't matter. This thing is solid. It gives you so much confidence. And that's something I really, really love about this thing.
As expected, this is not a light motorcycle, weighing in at a somewhat hefty 264 kilograms with all the vital fluids on board. It might not break records around a track, but the confidence it inspires more than makes up for what it lacks in weight savings. The road carried on in all its glory, until lunch happened.
So here we are at a place called Trenton-on-Sea. It's roughly halfway between East London and Port Elizabeth. You know, we live in Joburg and we keep saying, why do we live in Joburg? And I don't know, right here, right now, I'm kind of wondering myself why we live in Joburg. Maybe it's because of, I don't know, all the money or something. Yeah, must be. So now we're not doing like 1,000,000 kilometers, I know this. It's roughly 320 kilometers, but we're halfway now, more or less. If you're riding a sports bike, you can kind of feel it. I mean, even after not that long, you can feel it. But right now I feel nothing. I feel great. It's like the road is fantastic, the bike feels fantastic, everything feels fantastic. And I'm sort of a little bit of annoyed we're halfway because I think we should ride a lot more. How far is Cape Town?
Still feeling sprightly, we set off again, and then came to the delicate matter of the motor. Much like the chassis, the new motor is mostly the old motor, with the same 1340cc inline 4, with the same bore and stroke and the same 12.5:1 compression ratio. Except that it now makes 188 horsepower instead of 195 and 150 Nm of torque instead of 154. But they have added a ride-by-wire throttle, and all the electronic gizmos anyone could want. And Suzuki are adamant that people will enjoy this motor more than the last one. Let's find out.
Okay, here we go. Changing down gears. Get a clear bit of road. Okay, first gear. And let's accelerate. Oh! The front wheel hardly lifts. Oh, that's a lot of forward. That's a lot of forward. Yeah. That's kind of weird. It's not like fast revving or anything. Like some of the 1000cc, the tuned up 1000cc bikes where they rev. And they also kick you like a sledgehammer. They sort of bash you. Gwah! This thing comes in like I've used this before, like a tidal wave, like a giant massive tidal wave. It just sort of comes in. Not the most sudden, but unstoppable. It sort of it takes you along and yeah, you just keep going forward. This thing has all the electronics, but my favorite part about this bike is the quick shifter. It's so smooth. Boom, boom. Now I've had problems with Suzuki gearboxes in the past. Yeah, a few false neutrals here and there. But this one is just sublime. This is one of the best gearboxes I've ever experienced.
So, as the wind batters us, we head into PE and reflect on this new model. As we said, the new Busa is mostly made out of the previous Busa, a bike that was still selling beautifully before they stopped making it. So why would Suzuki change it? It's on sale in SA for 329,000 Rand, a price that's a good deal compared to even the smaller superbikes and most adventure bikes. Imagine what price it would be if they had completely redesigned it.
So here we go, we're here, the Windy City. This is Port Elizabeth. I can't even pronounce its new name, so we're not even going to bother. We set out here on this bike, what was known as the King of Speed, to find out if it is, as they say it is, refinement, dignity, and the ultimate riding experience. And what I've discovered is that when this bike first came out in 1999, it was all about top speed. It was how fast can you go? If you can go fast, you're the king. That's it. It's not like that anymore. It can't be. especially with the EU, bureaucrats at the EU, people who don't want you to have fun, people who hate other people having fun, people who just want to control lives. You're not allowed to do that anymore. It has to be all calm. It has to be all kind of grown up. That's what they demand these days, and it's an absolute pity. So in the old days, we had the hyper sport class, which is the top speed guys. We don't have that anymore. Instead, we have something else. In the car world, they have a thing called the GT class, which are cars that are fast and sporty. They'll knock your socks off, but you can drive 1,000 kilometers with them and still be in comfort and luxury. And that's what I think we have right now. This is the Hayabusa GT motorcycle. It is fast. It's maybe not the fastest, the most powerful out there, but it's fast. It's damn fast. It's easy to handle. It's easy to ride. It's a lot of fun, and yet I've spent most of the day in the saddle, and I'm absolutely, apart from my head, which is trying to be screwed off by a side wind, but that's not the bike's fault. I'm perfect. I'm absolutely perfect. I had so much fun riding here, and I feel really good. So this is a high-speed motorcycle, a sporty motorcycle, but also a touring motorcycle. It is a GT motorcycle, and I'm rather grateful they're here.